Okay, so today we're talking about exponents. If you see something like this, what this means is it's saying that I'm going to have 3 as my base number. So that's the 3 as a big number. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. So that's going to be my exponent. This is called an exponent. This is called your base number. Okay? A lot of people try to do 3 times 4. It is not 3 times 4. It is saying I'm taking 3 and multiplying it 4 times. Today, everything is going to be done with tens. So if you have something like this, my base number is 10, that's your big number, and your exponent is 3 because there's 3 of those. And the way you would read this is you would read it either 10 to the power of 3 or the power of 3 to 10. Okay? Either way is fine. Usually they write it out as 10 to the power of 3. Okay? Now, having said that, this is going to tell you, if you were to multiply this all the way out, this tells you how many zeros you would have. So you would have 1, 2, 3 zeros. And then in front of it, it's not 10, it's actually 1. So if you have 10 to the third power, or to the 10 to the power of 3, this is saying you're going to have a 1 with three zeros. Okay? So again, if you had something like this, 10 to the 6, that's saying I have a 1 with 6 zeros, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Many fifth graders make the mistake of saying it's 10 with 6 zeros, and that is wrong. It's a 1 with 6 zeros, okay? So anytime you have just a straight up number of 10 to the 6th, or 10 to the 3rd, or 10 to the 7th, whatever it is, the exponent is how many zeros with a 1 in front of it. They also get a little tricky and they do something like this. 4 times 10 to the 3rd. What this is saying is, okay, first thing you're going to do is 4 times 1 is 4, and then you're going to have 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so when they give you a tricky one like this, do the multiplication first and then add that many zeros. Okay, again, if you had something like 5 times 10 to the 6th, your first number is going to be 5, and you're going to have 6 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then they get really, really tricky. They really get it tricky because then they get to a problem like this. 3 times 7 times 10 to the 3rd. Well, it's not really that tricky if you really think about it, because just like you did before, you're going to do 7 times 3, which is 21, and then have 3 zeros. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you do the multiplication problem first, add the zeros. A lot of times they do it as a pattern. Let me give you an example. Sometimes they'll do 3 times 7 equals 21, right? And then they'll do, okay, well, let's do 3 times 7 times 10 to the 1st. Well, again, that means 3 times 7 is 21 with 1 zero. And then they even get trickier and trickier, and they say, okay, 3 times 7 times 10 to the 2nd. Does it change how you're doing this? No, you're going to do 3 times 7 is 21 and add 2 zeros. And then they continue this pattern on and on and on. 3 times 7 is 21 with 3 zeros. So you should be able to fill in blanks, okay? So they do it that way. The tricky way is when they do something like this. And then they say, okay, 2 times 2 times 10 to the blank equals this. And then 2 times 2 times 10 to the blank equals this. Or 2 times 2 times 10 to the blank equals this. Well, how do you figure out what your missing exponent is? Count how many zeros, right? 1 0, so that means there's a 1 that goes in here. 2 zeros, that means a 2 goes here. 1, 2, 3, that means there's 3 zeros in here. Okay? Any questions? Let me give you a heads up. They do trick people. They will try to trick you. And the only way they can really trick you in 5th grade is they do something like this. Okay? And most of you are going to fly through this so fast that you're going to say, okay, there's 2 zeros there, there's 3 zeros there, and there's 4 zeros there, I'm done. And you just missed it. Why? Piper, explain it to me. Right. You got to do 8 times 5 before you count your zeros, right? So if I did 8 times 5 is 40, there's my 40 there. Do I count this 0? No, because that's part of my 40. How many zeros do I have left over? 1. So this shouldn't be a 2, this should be a 1. Same thing on this one. I have to do 8 times 5 is 40. I got to count those 40 first, and then count my zeros. Do I count this 0? No, it was part of the 40, so how many zeros do I have left? 2, not 3. Same thing here. 8 times 5 is 40 with 1, 2, 3 zeros, not 4. You got to remember, if that 0 is part of the original problem, then you cannot count that for your exponents. Okay? Any questions today? What if they gave you some really tough ones, like, oh, let's say, 3 times 13 times 7 times 10 to the 4th. What would you do first?
Multiply 13 times 7.
I don't know 13 times 7.
Do it on the slide.
Oh, you mean do it over here to the side? Okay, yeah, we know how to do this, right? 7 times 3 is
21.
21, 1 down, 2 up, and then 7 times 1 is
7.
plus 2 is 91. And then what? Add 4 zeros. Any questions? Let me just double check, make sure there's no secrets. No, it should be good. All right.